The ghost of Machiavelli watching a regime be threatened by its own mercenaries. This is literally what I was talking about. He did kind of call this, didn't he? Mercenaries are useless and dangerous, and if one holds his state based on these arms, he will find neither firm nor safe. I mean, yeah, they're literally just out here to make their bag. The Red Army asks, what are you doing in the Russian Civil War? Meanwhile, 50,000 Czechoslovakians, mind your own business. I wonder if they're gonna want to make a return if there's a Russian Civil War 2.0, although Czechia and Slovakia are two different places now, but they can still join in and meet in Russia. Still, one of the craziest maps is how they had to be evacuated. King Alfred versus King Charles. One had the Great in his name, one had a cool, I'm guessing that's what this is, Goliath in the name. One defeated the Danes, and one speaks French. And I wonder who that could be. Glymph is a single representation of a character. Oh, each letter is a glymph. Oh, okay, I see. How do you get one of those? I want to add that to my name. What's funny about this is Charles still could defeat the Danes. He still has time if he wants. Cool inventions by each country. We have the British with antibiotics, jet engines, television, stainless steel, jet engines. Wait, jet engines are twice. Germany with the diesel engine, automobile, radar system, helicopter, electron, even MP3s. Italy with the telephone, the radio, the battery, the light bulb. France with photography, stethoscope, hot air balloon, braille. They came up, oh, that's right, the metric system. Wait, what Nordic flag is that? Anyways, we have seatbelt, Celsius, dynamite, ship propeller, insulin, the internet browser. Finally, we have Iberia, submarine, needles, toxicology, and I think this is just the lowlands, microscope, CDs, superconductor. You can actually go into a lot of these inventions and where they're coming from, like which country. There's just a lot of meme potential in here. Less than 3 days after setting out to explore the Arctic via hot air balloon, S.A. Andri, probably butchered that. 30 years later, scientists stumbled upon their campsite and found his haunting, undeveloped photos from the doomed mission. Wait, this really doesn't seem like something I should be looking at right now. I need the crappiest idea you have. Wait, no, that's too crappy. There's a limit to just how bad ideas can get. Bad ideas are good, but super bad ideas, not so much. And it turns out, surprisingly, sailing the Arctic in a hot air balloon is not a very good one. I feel like this kind of perfectly represents exactly how well that went. Everyone forgets just how obsessed we were with balloons around this time period, though. I feel like our passion for it didn't really stop until the Hindenburg. Germany, after WW2, actually confronts its crimes and builds up a remembrance legacy so successful that it's frowned upon as it's anti-patriotic. Then there's Japan after WW2. We're just gonna do things to make sure you all forget about that whole thing. Except in this example, it's not gonna be a flashing red light like in Men in Black, but it was still gonna be something you could see. A dummy's guide to why Napoleon Bonaparte was Italian. Cope harder, frog eater. Okay. He was born in an Italian family 2 years before Corsica was given to France. He was ethnically Italian from an Italian family. He literally had to learn French from scratch. Oh, I guess that's one way to do it. But Corsica's not Italian. Wrong. Corsican is an Italic language, and Corsicans an Italic people with Italic culture. Okay, we have the red circle and red arrows pointing. Oh, okay. Live French reaction. Of course, he was born on French territory, but he was an Italian naturalized French. He knew he was Italian, and he was proud of it. He actually came from a minor Italian nobility. He referred to himself as being from a race that finds empires, referring to the Roman Empire. But Italy didn't even exist back then. Nice try. Despite not being a unified country, the idea of the Italians being the people that inhabited the peninsula has always existed. Germany didn't exist too, yet we have no problem saying that Catherine the Great was German. Italy and Italians were already existing concepts and identities. Man, this guy's going hard. He crowned himself the King of Italy, despite usually giving away territories by merit or by nepotism. He did so to reclaim power over what he considered his real native land. Sorry, France, but, you already know what is gonna be said. What a fantastic PowerPoint. He definitely deserves at least like a B- for this. I love how this has been clearly a mission to convince the public for a while now. Let's say Napoleon's family did have Italian origins, and France thought they could get away with this. Medieval people, I'll put dragons here to indicate danger and unknown lands. Meanwhile, modern people, there were dragons back then. Unfortunately, that, or they think that the medieval people just believed in dragons. Well, I guess some did, but not all. Isn't it possible they just drew that because it looked cool? Like, it really might just come down to something like that. If I was able to draw a cool sea creature on a map, you know I would. Knights in fiction, I will do as you command, my king. Meanwhile, knights in reality, sorry, but we don't like you anymore. Time to oof, I guess. They kind of just went off vibes and stuff. Knights really just said, I do what I want. The Tower of of Pisa after engineers said falling over was imminent. No, I don't think I will. This refers back to 1990 when the tower went beyond a certain level where like engineers thought it is definitely gonna fall, and I guess you already have the answer to what happened with that situation. I love how this whole building became world renowned just because we actually made mistakes building it. Like they didn't want it to lean, they just did a poor job making it, and yet now the entire world's like, yo, this is so cool. You know they gotta be thinking, we totally meant to do that. Looks like the lean used to be even crazier back in the day though. Rome becoming militarily dependent on a group of semi-autonomous mercenaries to fight a war in Eastern Europe. Said mercenaries march on your capital after disputes in pay and claim to be used as expendable. Wow, this sounds awfully familiar. That's the thing about mercenaries. Sometimes you don't really have any other choice because you're losing the war, but mercenaries can also make you lose the war a whole lot harder. Knights at the back when kings make a pre-battle speech. Wait, what's he saying? Can't hear, just shut up and look cool. I've always thought this in movies and television shows. Like there's no way all 1,000 men or more are able to hear the cool speech from the king on the horse. Like if you're lucky, the bottom row will hear you. But you know these guys in the corner are just like, what? Can we get this over with so I can just die? Looking at the Tudors, Dragon's Dogma, Kingdom of Heaven, Lord of the Rings. Is this really medieval? Yeah, Hollywood doesn't know how to make medieval movies. They only know how to make medieval movies in a fantasy genre. Actually, there are a couple of examples that don't have fantasy elements, but it's their version of medieval, so I guess it's kind of fantasy in a way. They're not good at making historically accurate medieval. Maybe that's what I should be saying. And I always thought Lord of the Rings was a documentary. The Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor history nerd hearing that joke for the billionth time. Alright, I get it. I feel like I've read that comment at least 1,000 times. We know. I feel like I still make the joke sometimes. I just never finish the statement. I can't finish the statement. Dentists closely watching the Battle of Waterloo to wait and collect the dead soldiers' teeth to sell them to a rich toothless noble from anywhere. Teeth were really hard to come by back in the day, but man, there seemed to have been a sale at Waterloo. There was gonna be a lot to collect after that event. It was like the original Pokemon. Ooh, POV, it's your first day in the lab. Maybe don't use the, maybe don't use the screwdriver, that's what I'm trying to say. I also forgot to mention, it's your first day in the lab and your last, it appears. I'm actually ashamed to say I really didn't learn about the Demon Core up until like recently. Crazy how powerful a flash of blue light can be. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is signed in 1939. I'm glad to see it looks like they've made up. Seems to me they're trying to get on each other's bad side. Basically, this pact between Nono Germany and the Soviet Union before they went to war in WW2, it was just a temporary thing. Temporary until they actually were ready to duke it out. We all knew it was gonna end. The Spanish be like, did you actually expect me to obey just because you conquered us? Meanwhile, Napoleon, I mean... Yeah, if you didn't know, the nation of Spain pretty much transformed themselves into Vietnam during this time. I mean, even that reference isn't correct. They're like the original Vietnam, or the original Afghanistan, the original Finland. I guess they thought it would be easy to hold down this country since they were literally right there, but that definitely wasn't the case. Huh, what do we have here? Uncolonized, non-Christian country. And here's the Spanish Empire looking at that. Oh, I think I know what's about to happen. They've got some ideas behind those eyes, that's for sure. Obviously, this is way before the Napoleonic time, but barbaric Goth proudly shows off plundered Roman literature. She's saying, look how easy it was for me to take it. Man, still to this day, the Goths are still so powerful. Has there ever been a civilization that's lasted as long as they have? I always wanted to be Goth growing up, but you can't really be like goth and blonde, like natural blonde. It's not possible. Life is unfair. No one, the Germans in the 1940s.
This place is magnificent.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of what, I guess specifically in 1940, I'm pretty sure that is what they said. I don't think they were expecting to get there so fast. That feeling when your Arctic expedition in a ship named the HMS Terror turns out to be freaking terrifying. Why did you name it that? No one thought that would be like a bad omen or something? And whenever it comes to exploring either the North or South Pole, why are there just so many terrifying stories? Actually, I'm pretty sure I can answer that. I guess it should be obvious. Humans were just not meant to go there. A baboon became a railroad railroad worker, worked for 9 years, never failed even a single time, and then only oofed because of bad lungs. Why don't we put more baboons on the rail lines again? Is this why we can't figure out high-speed trains in the US? We're not using the baboons? That would make a lot more sense. Jack the baboon operated a railway, earned a salary, and never made any mistakes. To think we have this info and still we don't have an army of baboons leading our railways? What is wrong with us? Unsinkable Sam survived one of the greatest military disasters in German history, survived 3 major shipwrecks, grew old, and died at a naval home base. Versus the average house cat, hasn't even been in a single battle, can barely swim, probably got hit by a car or something. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say the average house cat hasn't seen a single battle. I don't know what they do at night, but I'm pretty sure they'd be leading some crusades. Unsinkable Sam was just so famous because he was in battle with humans. No, but this is definitely the luckiest cat that's ever been around. What a giga chad. Polynesian navigators looking at all these random instruments. Look at what they need to mimic a fraction of our power. Polynesians just needed a little bit of wood and the sky, and they were going to discover the entire Pacific Ocean. Literally one of the top 10 greatest human achievements. The Dutch creating their flag, doing it very detailed, trying to be perfect with everything. Meanwhile, the Indonesians creating their flag. I mean, sometimes it's just as easy as that. I mean, why not? Now, there's a reason why these two countries are included in the meme. I was kind of confused at first. If we're just making a random flag joke, there's a lot of flags that look like this. I mean, the Dutch and the Luxembourg flag are literally identical. And then obviously there are so many flags that are just red and white. There's Poland and Monaco. But remember, the Dutch had a giant colony in Indonesia before they got their independence. So there were actually probably several Dutch flags running around in these islands. The Indonesians would get their independence pretty much right after WW2. So why not make use of all these random flags you have laying around that no longer are correct? And yeah, just cut the bottom part out. Seems easy enough to me. Too bad it wasn't their old orange Dutch flag. That would have been so cool. Imagine Indonesia was just orange and white. That would be so unique. We would never get them confused with Poland ever again. Average, we did some bad things and we're sorry. That's basically just Germany. Meanwhile, average, nothing happened, enjoyer. And that's everybody else, I guess. That's how they deal with it. You probably missed out Japan. You could probably include Japan there. It really is just kind of Germany that is like, yo, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Everyone else is just like, what are you talking about? When you realize Germany always loses world wars and they're now on your team. Maybe Germany, are we sure they don't want to like switch teams? Might be kind of a bad omen. Maybe they can like officially be a part of the other team, but they don't actually help the other team. I just really, you know, we don't want to get unlucky here. I want to go against the trends. Captain William Outerbridge and the USS Ward on December 7th, 1941, on their way to sink a Japanese submarine outside of Pearl Harbor. Meanwhile, that same guy 3 years later, now in command of the USS O'Brien, being ordered to scuttle the USS Ward after it was damaged by kamikazes. That was probably not an easy task, that's for sure. Sometimes you gotta put him down though. Can't let him suffer. Okay, now I'm just kind of sad. Ooh, it looks like we got a facts book here. If a famous person who invented something never existed, someone else would have made it. That is probably true. Although it might have taken a little bit longer, who knows, years, decades, centuries, probably somebody else would have invented it eventually. Everything would just be so much slower. And big thanks to the patrons. I am the kidnapper. I oofed Drew since no one paid his ransom. This channel's now run by AI. Australia is real. I'm Argentinian. $20 is a lot true. Asher, $200, Normal, Chester, Tiny, Carmel, A Nargin, Traven, Isaiah, John Denver, KirinoIsBestGirl, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Mexican, why am I doing this?